This is the camouflage cover of a recent reissue of Taras Shevchenko's book, Kobzar, filled with a series of morale-boosting poems. Along Ukraine's front line in Donbass, this publication is a familiar sight. It's not the first time Shevchenko's works have been used in war. In fact, back in 1943, during the Second World War, Pavlo Tychyna, who was then the Minister of Education in the Ukrainian SSR and a renowned poet himself, published a similar book to support Ukrainian soldiers. We read the works of Tychyna on the front line. We read Shevchenko. He doesn't need translating. The Turkic Bashkirs, Georgians and Russians listened. Serhiy Galchenko has dedicated his life to studying Shevchenko's creative genius and his heritage. In fact, Serhiy has produced more than 20 different pieces of analysis of Kobzar. He recalls how, during a visit to the US in 1992, he came across the poet's lost manuscripts and drawings, stolen from Kiev during the Second World War. Among them, the first version of Shevchenko's Kobzar, dating back to the year 1840. Experts on Shevchenko called the archive the find of the century. They were swiftly returned back to the poet's homeland, Ukraine. The entire pages with verses are underlined. You can see nota bene on almost every page. Between 1845 and 1857, Taras Shevchenko was forced to live in exile, a huge price to pay for writing in Ukrainian and promoting the country's independence. He was first sent to Orenburg, a Russian city on the banks of the river Ural. Later, in Kazakhstan, the young man turned into a grey-haired, wise figure, the most common image seen nowadays on Ukrainian textbooks of Shevchenko. But despite the punishment, he dreamt of a brighter future for Ukraine, and it was never far away. He was a poet of optimism. The mother is impatient and about to scold when, lo, a bird bursts into song. He was dreaming about the harmony, not just an idyllic picture. Even during some of the darkest stages of Shevchenko's forced exile, his life goals were clear. The story goes, in 1850, the poet planted a small tree alongside the river Urba in southern Russia. Soon, the tree grew and was named Taras in Urba. In 1963, the shoots of that tree were planted in Kiev and other Ukrainian cities. It's perhaps no coincidence that the roots of Ukrainian literature come from Shevchenko. Since Ukraine's Euromaidan revolution, Shevchenko's work has seen a revival. He inspires young bandura players who have become famous around the world for their covers of famous hits. We selected this particular verse and wrote cheerful music so that Shevchenko's poetry could sound different and he could be perceived not as an icon but as an awesome poet. My name is Yevgenia Shevchenko, and I am proud of my last name. It inspires me to leave a mark in the history of Ukraine, like the great Kobzar did. Of course, I am proud of my last name. I consider it to be genuinely Ukrainian, the most popular in our country. I'm trying to be useful to our state and people by my work. This is Tom Bell for UATV.